So then, we are back with the modern understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find in the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Itzaelic lineage, where we find then the understandings of the Daniel the prophet as a statesperson, as a politician, very important person during the time of the Babylonian Empire, and then Cyrus, or then the Medes and the Persians. You find then himself as the statesperson, and then the many visions he had while he was in his dreams, indicating the time of the end, and China being the most prominent at the end. So then these days where we find then politicians of our own country playing around with fancy words, sequestration, and then some other kind of word related with tax cuts, and because then the Democrats then get stuff upon the Republicans, and then the Republicans then they reject back Democrats. They are both lunatics. There is no more time for this junk. We have to understand the new system is coming, and we must come up with our own U.S. system of instant tax deduction. Every time every citizen in our country is dealing with computerized systems where they are earning via online, taxes must be taken instantly. But then the government doesn't understand the point. When the system comes, when the Chinese system comes, with the same closed circuit where you have your funding when you purchase from abroad, when you're making a purchasing from China, you pay, let's say, via PayPal. An example. There are other systems. Those are closed systems. When you pay the item, let's say 10, you get freight at no charge. You have a transfer of funding from your funding to China's funding. When the new system is implemented in shortly 36 months, you are going to receive your earnings from your investment via this same closed circuit. The government can't take away taxes from. Though people say, oh, you should then declare your taxes at the end of the year. They are going to cheat. That's why our government is so printing out so much money, because they don't have enough revenue. And as they understand, there are non-legals doing the work for legals, and they are gorging themselves in a huge amount of cash, and the government is not taking taxes from. They don't understand the principle. They are people from families never related with the industry, never related with the manufacturing. They went to these studies, then they went to the university, always in suit and tie, never got their hands cut, their hands, callous with work. These people are lazy, they don't understand what they are doing. Not because Democrats speaking bad of Republicans, then Republicans speak bad. We don't have time for this crap anymore. Those were done during the time of the seed. From 1009 to 2009, we had no directive. We understand what's coming in the future. It's time then for the U.S. system taking taxes instantly from any transaction where there is earning. What else can we explain to these scoundrels politicians? Do we have to take them by the hand? There is a problem. As long as the printing machine is printing, these stupid scoundrels, they are going to be behind the printing machine. Until the system breaks. It is always the same situation. Because then taxes. Because more tax cuts. Because then non-legals. Because then Medicare. Because then another problem. It's because then industry. And then because it's smart grid. It's because another problem with the industry. It's the same junk. When is the government going to get some shame on the face and get this system straightened out by taxes taken from every earning instantly? There is enough cash in the system, there is not enough gathering of it. There are tax evaders everywhere. But then the government, being lazy, they prefer then print out more money. 36 months, the paper money then is junk. Then they go into a cave like ostriches. It's what they are. They are ostriches. The U.S. government became U.S. ostriches. This is what they are. And some of them they take as a compliment. This is how screwed up their minds are, so badly screwed up. Don't they understand that the Chinese system is coming? Don't they understand that the prophecies of Daniel lacks a piece of it at the end? Try to understand. We understand from the past the temple in Jerusalem was an elevator system. That's why then is much larger than the tabernacle of the desert. Why? Because Shimon was building a machine. The Ark of the Covenant and the most important objects of the time of the restoration were stored away by Yeshayahu the prophet, or was Yirmiyahu the prophet? Was Yirmiyahu the prophet? There was an elevator system over there, and it's there. Where you find the reference then of this place? You find in Maccabeus, the Apocrypha, part of the scripture. Daniel the prophet, you find a statue, each with a power nation leading the market. Translators, scoundrels, they did not understand when the Messiah was speaking later, and then what Daniel himself was explaining. At the end, then each nation would be to his own. The problem is, Daniel the prophet did explain of a nation of the end. Translators did not understand, because they were then understanding the tabernacle. They did not understand the time of the end, the computerized system, as a nation leading the trades market. It was left out. When you read Chronicles, when you read 1st and 2nd Kings, you find many references of many of the situations involved the nation, particularly then the temple. 1st and 2nd Kings, you find then the size of those columns in the front of the temple. It was a machine. Has to be linked up with Yirmiyahu the prophet, Maccabeus. Then you understand the whole. So then you read from Yohanan the understanding of the third part of the ships and the country leading the world's market. Daniel the prophet explained it. The translators did not understand, they left out. Why do you think the Maccabeus was removed from the scripture? It was included many years ago. So while we are doing the work and working diligently, then the government wallowing around, doing their junky work, phantom agencies sucking up the money, and they have no shame on the face whatsoever. As long as the printing machine is working, then they hide behind the printing machine. They are destroying our country. Ozark's junk, what is the name? White Elephant Project. And they have no shame on the face. Don't they understand we have to have taxes removed instantly? Every time there is earning, taxes removed. Every time. there is a worldwide problem of tax evasion. But in our country, as long as the printing machine is working, so then these fancy words, sequestration and blah blah blah, the whole situation is a piece of junk. We have to have the chairperson over there, the Federal Reserve, being involved with this project of instant tax gathering. Must be instantly. You go online, you buy a product, you have it for sale. When you have your earning, then the government must take taxes instantly. It doesn't have to have the company gathering these taxes or the information. Oh, you pay this much for taxes. It doesn't have to be the information in the system anymore. When there is the transaction, then you get an ID in the computer explaining based upon the earning, this much was then taxes. Instantly goes to the government. But then they are lazy, they don't understand. 36 months they go into a hole in the Ozarks. Thus the U.S. government ostriches. And there are so many areas that must be evaluated. Mr. Chu, from the Energy Department, he's from Chinese descent. Don't you think he has some sort of a link with the Chinese system? Oh boy, you bet believe it. He drags around our system of updating our grid because China wants our country out of the deal. Oh, but they don't say, oh, that's speculation. No, with so much coal in our country, why are we having blackouts? Yeah, because of the environment. What about the environment? Double filter it. What has the scripture indicated regarding environment? Nothing. The planet is going to be destroyed by a shower of sulfur. You can't fix it. Should you throw trash in the ocean? No. Should you trash then the rivers? No. Should you throw around trash in their neighbor's yard? No. Should you throw chemicals in the rivers? No. Certain areas of understanding is very basic. And we have lots of coal. But then Mr. Chu, he's kind of a, Chinese descendant. He understands the system. He understands what's coming in the future. And he drags us around. There is no time for more of this BS of the government. The chairman of Federal Reserve, Mr. Bernanke, must come up with this system. He has to hire his people, hire managers, whatever. Get the system going. Instant tax gathering. Then we have to get rid of Mr. Chu. He's involved with this Chinese system. He drags around. It doesn't fit. Playing around with words and because then smart grid, you know what? Take a hike. Get somebody else. With preference of a military person with very extensive industrial background. Can make the objective clear and simple. and get more power plants, coal power plants, double filter it, more energy on the grid. Doesn't have to be smart system. Standard analog with those, old-fashioned GE's clock where you measure the electricity. Nothing fancy. So we can revitalize our industry. Because the government is not interested. They are wallowing around. They have their plans over in a hole. Go over there in the Ozarks. You find thousands of miles paved, linked up from state to state underground. That's the future of our government. So tax sequestration, this kind of a nomenclature, you know what? Don't even talk about it. If you don't know how to clarify then your objectives, then shut up. The government does not know how to do the job. There are very many people without industrious background walking around in suits and ties and eating from the government. They have vehicles from the government, benefits from the government, and they don't know how to do the work. The next step is taken by the hand. People going around in the White House over there, taken by the hand. They have to show them. You know what? This is a clipboard. It's a piece of board with a clip on top. Then show them A4 size paper. You write on it. You know what inventory means? You gather what you have, then you have to make an estimate what's going to cost. Coal is very cheap. We must have electricity. Are you going to spend then nuclear where you find then a welding for 100,000? Only if you are stupid. People giving preference for these nuclear power plants are criminals. In a state of crisis where we find ourselves in our country, then investing in nuclear, this is stupidity. Invest in coal, is readily available. Double filter it, got energy in the grid. But then the government does not know how to make decisions. Doesn't have to be smart grid, doesn't have to have special cables, doesn't have to be any of it. It does not even have to be computerized. Standard straight analog. The simplest you can ever get to get then the grid with enough energy so people can work. Our governments became simply overly technical, overly complicated. They say they try to be on top with the technology, but they are confusing themselves. It's kind of unique, those people up there, they never had the idea of analyzing from the other side of the situation. They are so smart, they earn so much, they don't give a damn. But then the rest of the people, smarter, then they think, well, let's verify what goes on. Let's analyze what statesperson Daniel the prophet mentioned. What is like on the other side? There you are. Let's say, for instance, you are in China. You have a factory over there, and you provide a product for 10. Then from China to US is a long trip, and you have freight at no charge. You have to have a system very organized to provide you with this product at no charge. But then the government is so mighty and high in junk, they don't understand the principle. You have a closed circuit of flowing of funding. Then the government can't take taxes from. It's private. Then with the same way you purchase, the same way you invest. Comes through the same line. And the government does not take taxes from. How are they going to make a distinction from purchase and earning? But then the government is going to a hole anyway. They're going to the Ozarks. What about the rest of us on top? The problem is, what we are going to do then with our system when the ostriches go into their holes? What about the monetary system? What about the paper money? Who's going to work for the government? You know what they're going to do? They're going to throw bombs over there in the Ozarks, and they're going to destroy the whole cave system. If the people find the government not doing their job and then going into a hole, they're going to explode the top of it. Then they're going to be exactly in a hole, but then with rocks around them. That's the future of our country. The government is preparing for then the financial destruction. But while then going so far ahead, why not then having tax gathering at an instant time? This is what this scoundrelized scripture can do to you or to entire nation. You read from a scoundrelized scripture, ended up in a hole like an ostrich. You read from the Aramaic, the original documents, then you understand. The objective of the government is coming up with a national system where taxes are taken instantly every time there is a transaction related with earnings. Every time, real time, instantly, remove of taxes of every earning. If you are legal, not legal, if the social security number used is valid or not valid, it's not the point. In terms of a person using somebody else's legal name to do computer trade. Because if you use a false social security number, it doesn't go through the system. But then, his social security is going to be valid when the new system comes. Absolutely not. It's a piece of junk. They have their own reference. Because they are going to link up with a closed system. Why do they have to have a social security with a closed system for? Then it would give the government a head start to get taxes from, wouldn't it? But then the government is archaic. You know what archaic means? Antiquated, outdated, obsolete. The new system is absolutely 100% self-regulating. So there are a couple of situations going on. Couple of people, very important. Mr. Bernanke from the Federal Reserve coming up with the system, and then Mr. Chu coming up with more power plants. Those two are on the line. And they have to come up nationwide and give us a briefing. Where are we at with those? Clear answers. And because the government is funding, because there is so much money in the system, because we can't have enough money because it's very expensive. We are going through some regulations and blah blah blah. No. Enough of this nonsense of the government. People are up to the beyond limit. There is enough cash in the system, enough money, enough funding. The problem is the government is not doing their job. They are not gathering taxes properly. With so much computer technology around, they don't know how to take taxes from every transaction? Are you joking? Because if they don't start making deals with closed circuits in order to justify removal of taxes because of the internet problem, do you think in the future when the system is implemented they are going to be able to? No! So while then our money is valid, though devaluing every day, there is yet time for the tax reform where then closed circuits can be then evaluated and taxes taken while there is flow of funding coming through. So when the new system comes and they link up their banking or their closed circuit with the system, then the government is already there. Kind of obvious. But then speaking with ostriches, such as the government, it does not make any sense. In fact, if you would talk with ostriches, they would do more than speaking with the government.